Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, and yes, I view all of this as a gamble. Also, money1776.com. Today is March 21st, 2024. Let's talk money, but first remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Nothing I say in this video should be construed as investment advice. I'm simply sharing what I'm considering or pursuing. Understand, much of what I say in this video, I'm not pursuing because I'm prioritizing cryptocurrency. I believe that's a generational investment right now. Nonetheless, it's my philosophy that you need to know the lay of the land. At certain price points, I will jump in. Some of the things that I think are well situated in the economy. Now, I can't talk crypto at length because I have a Substack page for paying customers. There's also a free membership level, right? That is Dwyer, that's DWYER, 70905.substack.com. But in this video, let's talk about crypto for 5 minutes. I believe it's very important at this time in the market cycle. You know, there are many, perhaps you are one of them, who like one of my favorite market commentators, Grant Williams, who I respect deeply and I value his work, right? But Grant Williams says that he won't believe in Bitcoin until he sees people doing transactions in Bitcoin. He wants to see people using Bitcoin to buy things. He seems to be waiting for things to be priced in Bitcoin to become a believer. Well, with a nod to the great Gil Scott-Heron, I hope you look him up. Right? Please understand, Mr. Williams, that Bitcoin is happening right now at this moment, and the revolution is not being televised. Grant Williams is at the concert, and he's missing the music. Let's talk about it. It's important for people to think about this possibility. I'll call it a possibility. In actuality, it's a reality. Now, you know those great ads on TV for Trivago, where you have people in a hotel lobby. They want rooms at the hotel. And then they find out that they got the same rooms. But the person who used Trivago got the room at a discount. Got more, right? Because they got the same room for less money. Well, let me just point out that if you're in that hotel lobby with a Bitcoiner, and I'm talking about right now, not some futuristic date, not theoretically, I'm talking about right now. Let's say she has her money in Bitcoin. You have your money in the US dollar. Well, Bitcoin, as we know, is up big against the US dollar over the last 6 months at least. At the time of this video, Bitcoin has risen 151% over the last 6 months. Let me repeat that. Look up the Bitcoin chart, folks. It's 2024. You're online with a lot of resources. Look up the Bitcoin chart. You'll find out that Bitcoin over the last 6 months is up 151%. Now, while the Bitcoiners' money has appreciated 151% over that 6-month period, sadly, as many of us know, your US dollar has not. Now, the hotel room is denominated in dollars. Maybe that's what's throwing Grant Williams off. right? You see the dollar price and you think, oh, that's the price. The hotel room is denominated in dollars. The Bitcoiner takes out her cell phone, goes to the uphold.com app. Now keep in mind, I'm mentioning uphold.com because I'm a user. But there are other apps in the cryptosphere that do the same thing. The Bitcoiner goes to the uphold.com app, where she has linked her traditional finance debit card. And of course, for a small fee that is much less, and I mean much less, than the appreciation she has received on her Bitcoin versus the dollar over the last 6 months, she can transfer enough Bitcoin to her debit card almost instantaneously to pay for the hotel room at a fraction of the price you're paying with your US dollars. In other words, folks, for dollar-denominated prices, Bitcoiners who have realized great appreciation can quickly convert their Bitcoin into dollars and pay for the room using their regular debit cards. That's now. It's so seamless you could be in the hotel room, see someone on their phone doing a transaction, and not even realize that they're exchanging Bitcoin for the room. Bitcoin that they got for much less than what you paid for your US dollars, particularly if they got that Bitcoin within the last 6 months. Now, while Grant Williams is in the lobby, waiting for the day when hotel prices are priced in Bitcoin, the Bitcoiner has already quietly rented the room for a fraction of the price US dollar payers are paying. As she goes to her room, Grant Williams is still in the lobby and has missed the transaction. Folks, there are transactions like this going on today all over the United States, right? Understand, again, the technology at uphold.com isn't even that far ahead of the competition, right? Understand, you can quickly convert between Bitcoin and the US dollar. Let me point out too, for gold or silver, right, both of which, like Bitcoin, are, in my mind, sound money. For gold and silver, rather than use uphold.com, you could use a site like onegold.com, which would allow you to convert your precious metal holdings into US dollars. Let's get back to Bitcoin. We already know that the liquidity is there, especially now that we have spot Bitcoin ETFs run by reputable, highly respected groups like Fidelity and BlackRock. Prices don't have to be denominated in Bitcoin for a Bitcoiner to have access to the value of their holdings. Understand, from a brokerage account, let's say I have a Schwab brokerage account. If I wanted to buy some Bitcoin, I can invest in a spot Bitcoin ETF. Likewise, if I needed to take my money out of Bitcoin to pay for a hotel room in US dollars, I can withdraw money quickly from the spot Bitcoin ETF and convert it to cash. So a price is not a price until you factor in the cost of the currency you are using. Folks, in inflationary times such as this, where the Fed chairman recently gave a speech within the last 24 hours and acknowledged that some of the numbers look bad, but yet had the audacity to talk about the potential for rate cuts this year. In that kind of environment, understand using the US dollar is much more expensive than using Bitcoin, gold, or silver. And that's now, folks. Let me just point out that this is especially so when the U.S. debt is increasing by $1 trillion in less than every 100 days. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about some other investment ideas and some misperceptions that the public might have. Right? The misperceptions sometimes can create destructive narratives where people aren't aware of what's really going on. Now, a fast food chain, Wendy's, I believe, flirted with the idea of surge pricing. This is the idea of charging more during busy times. The public was outraged. Who has ever heard of such a thing? The fast food chain withdrew the idea. It's too bad. Because as anyone who has attended a bar's happy hour knows, surge pricing is already with us and is a success in the food industry. You're in a bar, you're getting happy hour prices, you're getting $1, maybe $2 off of your drink because it's, let's say, late in the afternoon, early in the night. Not a lot of people are at the bar. So you're getting drinks at a discount during slow times. Folks, that's surge pricing. Technology that increases the use of surge pricing, as well as lower pricing for repeat customers. Let me repeat that. Lower pricing for repeat customers will have an advantage in the marketplace. So, on the eve of the NCAA tournament, Wendy's is selling Dave's double cheeseburgers. That's half a pound of beef during these inflationary times for $2 if you use the app. Folks, you're getting the double cheeseburger for 75% off. Right? Now, understand, the people typically who use the app are repeat customers. They're getting a huge discount. Huge. While non-repeat customers are paying roughly 4 times more for the burger. Now here again, Grant Williams might be in a Wendy's. If he's not attuned to the app and the offers on the app for repeat customers, if he's a new customer, he might see people leaving with Dave's double cheeseburgers and might not realize that he's paying 4 times the price. That's the world we live in. I was in a McDonald's parking lot about to walk in the restaurant. I mean, literally, the restaurant door was right in front of me. I was about to walk in the restaurant. I was about to have a breakfast sandwich and a McDonald's coffee, which McDonald's, by the way, in terms of coffee, has wisely cut in price. As I was about to go through the doors, it dawned on me that if I used the McDonald's app, they were going to give me 2 breakfast sandwiches for the price of 1. Right? This is on the app. It wasn't even advertised on the side of the building. This was on the app. As I walked in the restaurant, I thought about the app. I looked on the app, and sure enough, the deal I had seen earlier was on the app. 2 for 1 breakfast sandwiches at McDonald's. Well, let me just point out that by using the app, I could pay online, not just get the cheaper price, but I could actually pay online. And as I walked in the restaurant, there was a line for the cashier. And I was able to bypass the cashier. Now, let me just tell you that at McDonald's, because the cashier deals with money, it takes a little while, if you're a worker, to earn the privilege of working as the cashier at McDonald's. Now, we here in California, and it's one man's opinion, one of the worst ideas I have ever heard of. It increases fragility for the job security of everyone who works at McDonald's. California has a very high minimum wage. So the cashier at McDonald's is probably getting about $20 an hour, if not more. Right? Just understand, by using the app, I was able to bypass someone who McDonald's is paying $20 an hour to. I was also able to bypass the time commitment that it would take for me to stand in line to be able to verbally tell her my order. Not only that, on the app, there's no ambiguity. Right? I can place an order and I can think, you know what, let me have picante sauce for that sausage burrito. And I can click the box for picante sauce. I don't have to tell the cashier, you know what, I want that with picante sauce. I can customize my order online without ambiguity. Online is much more efficient than talking to a worker and telling them the customization you want. Let me just say that if I had used Bitcoin for the transaction, if I walked into the store and I thought, okay, let me use my app, then before I used the app, I thought, you know what, let me convert some Bitcoin into US dollars on my Uphold.com app so that I can then use my regular debit card for this transaction. I could have paid even less for the meal than the 50% I was paying. Remember, they're giving me 2 breakfast sandwiches for the price of 1. Now, here again, many are missing the revolution. Right? I walk into McDonald's, there's a line already. People in line are looking at me. They don't know that they're about to pay 2 times what I'm paying. They don't know that I'm just going to walk by the line and stand by where they give the customers the food. They don't know that I've already paid. Let me just point out, too, that the real point here in this video is that these apps are going to disintermediate. They're going to disemploy workers. It is part of a bigger trend of artificial intelligence and software disintermediating workers. If you're in the computer coding industry, you understand that that industry has already, here in the early innings of artificial intelligence, become much more efficient due to artificial intelligence. Right? People aren't hiring computer coders like they used to, because now someone with a few ideas can use AI to do their computer coding themselves. If you're in the legal profession, you understand that legal research is much more efficient now when done by artificial intelligence. Right? I can punch in, fact scenarios Say, find me case law and statutes, and it will spit out the information for me. There is an entire industry, summer associates, who are overpaid, spend their summers working for law firms, right, writing research briefs. Now you mean to tell me that the law firm can serve their clients more efficiently without these people on summer break from law school, simply by punching in data to an AI system? Let me just tell you, this is going to have a profound impact on legal recruiting. How are entry-level people going to get experience? Not only that, savvy clients now are going to hire you and they're going to say, hey, I don't want 4 attorneys working on my case. Can you use AI to cut the costs? Solo practitioners are going to think to themselves, should I hire a paralegal? Should I hire a contract attorney? Or should I just use an AI system on subscription to get me the data points, and then I can tailor the final draft of the brief myself? Folks, the employment picture is going to change. Please don't fall in love with the current employment numbers. Now, yesterday, the S&P hit a record high. Please, don't be seduced by the hype. This is an election year. As you can imagine, many incumbents running for re-election, not just for President of the United States, but also House of Representative seats, also Senate seats. They have an incentive to tell you that happy days are here again. Right, folks? What they can't tell you is that the yield curve remains inverted. What they can't tell you is that's one of history's best predictors of recessions. Right, folks? Understand. These are unusual times. Sooner or later, the cost of holding long-term debt is going to increase. Everyone right now thinks, oh, making interest is easy. I can just T-bill and chill. Right, folks? You understand that's a historical aberration. That typically only happens right before a recession. What I want folks to do, too, is to think about their own downtown, right? I saw that the powers that be in the city of Baltimore are thinking about trying to sell homes for $1, right? These are homes that are boarded up. Many of them are gutted. Let's just say that deal might not even be a good deal because you're going to have to bring that house up to code. I want people to think about commercial real estate. Folks, you understand there are losses there, right? Many of the holders of commercial real estate can't roll over the debt. There's a misperception out there that the Fed chairmen are magicians, that they can somehow come in and solve any malady that's infecting a market. Folks, the opposite is true. The market leads. The Federal Reserve is really just a political cover. You understand that if the credit risk increases, because of course demand has dried up for commercial real estate in several downtown areas. In California, let me name 2 big cities where that's the case: San Francisco and Los Angeles, arguably the 2 highest profile cities in the state. When demand for commercial real estate dries up, when current rental rates are unattractive because the cost structure that supported them has changed materially, when commercial real estate holders are giving the keys to their lenders because they no longer feel that the deal is a good deal for them, so they're turning in their commercial real estate holdings, you have losses that are going to be realized by someone, right? Either the bank is going to realize the losses, either the real estate owner, and we say owner loosely, right, because they've bought the commercial real estate pursuant to a mortgage. Folks, there are losses that are going to be realized. You understand that. I'm not talking about what could happen down the road. I'm talking about the state of the commercial real estate market right now. Right? So this economy is on the precipice of bad times. S&P at an all-time high, great. Just understand, it's not unusual for there to be a run-up right before we head into the abyss. Think of the latter part of the 1920s. If you want an era that mirrors this one, look at that era. Right, folks? The Roaring '20s gave way to the Great Depression. Understand, too, you have debt levels that are going nowhere. Right, folks? The United States is hopelessly in debt right now. And yet our debt burden versus our GDP is much lower than Japan's. Let me tell you, I got out of school in the late 80s. And at the time, you could not turn left or right. You could not walk 2 inches without hearing about the Japanese miracle. Japan was thriving. People thought that this was a new paradigm. It wasn't. Japan's market, supposedly, is just recovering now. Folks, when you have a national debt that's more than twice your GDP, and when you have extremely poor demographics where most of the people living in Japan are older, then I don't care what the Japanese stock market is at today. That's a situation I don't want to be a part of. Folks, at a time when we're talking about Japan now finally getting back to where it was in the late 80s, when I got out of grad school. See this gray? Folks, back then, believe it or not, it was all black. Right? Shows like Cheers were ruling the roost on TV. You didn't even have Friends back then. Japan is just getting back to those levels. Folks, this is like the person who comes to you to borrow money. And they say, hey, look, I'm back on my feet, and they're wearing a new shirt. And then you find out that their debt is more than twice their annual income. Right, folks? Don't be fooled by these press stories. They're not real. So let's talk about what I think is undervalued. When I first started making these high-risk videos, a barrel of oil was selling for a little bit over $70 a barrel. Folks, it's gained $10. Right? It's now selling for about $80 a barrel. Again, you have access to the internet, just look it up. Now, my point to you is, these are inflationary times. Don't believe me. Just look at Powell's speech. The Fed chairman acknowledged it. These are inflationary times with wars in hot areas like Gaza. Right, folks? Let's not forget, too, there's a war going on in the Ukraine. We're hearing now that people are starving in Cuba and that Cuba's not doing well, and that's in the Western Hemisphere. Right, folks? I continue to believe that oil is undervalued. Some names. I continue to like Exxon, symbols XOM, Chevron, CHX, Occidental, OXY. I'm looking at the ETF Gush now, GUSH, right? I like the XLE. I'm surprised that natural gas play EQT is not doing well. I'm expecting it to rise. Let me point out, too, it's very important to separate hype from reality. I want people to think about the level of leadership we have, and I want people to ask questions. Now, you have a presidential candidate. I'm not going to specifically name him, but he's upset, believe it or not, because he believes that China is going to try to import cheap electric vehicles into Texas through Mexico. Right now, folks, that's a more beer for us situation. You mean to tell me that China is going to try to compete in the American market by delivering value? You mean to tell me that Tesla is going to get serious competition, that perhaps Li Auto, which is doing very well, symbol is LI, doing very well internationally, is going to try to actually make their cars available to the United States at low prices? Folks, where I'm from, we call that a bargain. We call that an opportunity. In this political climate, somehow that's supposed to be a threat to American security. Somehow I'm supposed to believe that NVIDIA's latest chips, right, the Blackwell chip, a big announcement by NVIDIA a few days ago, it tells you that AI is going to have groundbreaking technology, right? We'll find out if it's a groundbreaking investment, given the valuation, but we know they're going to have groundbreaking technology. I'm supposed to believe that this NVIDIA Blackwell chip is not going to be bought by some entities that are going to turn over the technology to the Chinese, who will then have a full and complete opportunity to deconstruct the chip. Right? I'm supposed to believe that some American prohibition on chip companies giving these chips to China is somehow going to prevent China from competing in the artificial intelligence space. Folks, I just want you to know that I find that contention to be laughable. Right? You need to ask yourself whether these political narratives make sense or are even desirable. Right? Just to understand there are more than 1 billion Chinese people. If AI is as groundbreaking as we believe it is, and I believe it is, then China is either going to duplicate NVIDIA technology, or they're going to buy NVIDIA technology and reward NVIDIA for their innovations. If you're a shareholder in NVIDIA, why would you prefer the former to the latter? Right? Just food for thought. Let me also make another point too, and this is a big moment for all of us, and I know it's not being portrayed this way in the press. You have a guy who loved being an NBA owner. Loved it. When Mark Cuban won the NBA championship, he posted online a photo of him holding the trophy, smoking a cigar on a plane. Right? This is that NBA owner who was in the NBA because he loved basketball, because he wanted to win. He wanted to own a team. Well, what I want people to think about is now he's selling a big part of his ownership interest in the team. Don't be fooled, too, when they tell you, oh, he's going to stick around, he's still going to have a managerial role. Isn't that the way the Baltimore Ravens were sold in the NFL, right? For purposes of continuity, fan relations, an existing owner will say, hey, I'm still the manager of the team. You loved the Mavericks when I owned them. You know what? I'm still going to manage the team. We'll see how long that lasts. Here's what I want people to consider. Mark Cuban is into crypto. You need to ask yourself, which investment is going to get him more money going forward for less effort? Owning an NBA team or owning Bitcoin? If Mark Cuban uses the money he gets for the sale of at least part of his ownership of the Dallas Mavericks, would crypto get him more money back? Right, folks? If you're old enough, you remember before Bird and Magic, when the NBA Finals, the crown jewel of the league, was on tape delay. Let me also say this too, and I don't say it lightly. I'm watching the headset market intently. I feel right now Apple Vision Pro is a little bit too richly priced. You have Meta in the space as well. That's two of the Magnificent Seven. In other words, well-positioned, well-funded companies who already are participating in the virtual reality headset market. Right? You also have gambling now as part of the deal. Right? Look at the numbers for the Super Bowl that was just played in Vegas. Look at the number of people who watched the Super Bowl. Right? Understand how the gambling market is bringing a lot of people into watching sports. Now here's the question. If I'm an NBA owner, am I afraid that these virtual headsets might actually be able to duplicate, perhaps exceed, the fan experience at the arena? Right? Understand, very few fans have courtside seats, just mathematically. Right? There are very few courtside seats. There are tens of thousands of fans who actually want to be at games. Right? As the Apple Vision Pro matures, right, is it possible that you could go to a sports bar with one of these headsets, have the benefit of being with your buddies, right, paying a lot less, by the way, for drinks, for parking, being with your buddies, but also able to have a headset where during key moments you can put the headset over your eyes and actually get a courtside experience of the game for a price that's cheaper than going to the arena. Right, folks? I used to go to San Francisco Giant games out here. And wow, sometimes I would pay $40 for parking. In other words, by the time I got in the arena to buy a beer, and let's not get confused, the beer was expensive. By the time I paid for parking and for beer, I was already out $50 before I got a hot dog. And understand, my seats weren't, right by the first baseline. Right, I had regular seats, sometimes in the upper deck. And of course, those seats cost some money. Right, is it possible that technology is going to allow me to duplicate the feel of being at the game while being in my living room or while being at the local Buffalo Wild Wings for a lot less? You should be concerned when someone who's passionate about sports, like Mark Cuban, at one point he tried to buy a baseball team, decides that he's going to step back from at least part of his ownership. Let me close by saying I'm expecting China to be active in the AI market. Right? Understand, China almost has to be because they have a demographic problem. So they're going to have to find a way to create more with less. Right? Alibaba is a play I continue to like because Alibaba, which is in retail, which is in cloud computing, Alibaba now is also investing in AI entities in China. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours. I see I've gone 40 minutes. I hope you leave your thoughts in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.